Good afternoon. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Winterson. I am a graduate from the University of Maryland. I am also a missionary with Focus up at Seton Hall in South Orange, New Jersey. But more importantly than that, I am a beloved son of God. I'm here and I'm really excited and really just overjoyed to share with you guys just bits and pieces of how I came to know Fight Club, what it's done for my life, and what it continues to do for not just me, but for so many men across the United States. So I guess just to start is I first got involved with the Catholic Student Center through my mom, of course, for some of you guys that may know. She encouraged me to get involved just in small ways to really cultivate my faith further. And one of the first ways that I was able to get myself involved with the Catholic Student Center was through a freshman and first-timers retreat that maybe a few people here have gone on before. And every time I enter into any retreat, I always have in the back of my mind, in the back of my heart, Lord, in what way are you going to be calling to me? What way are you going to say will and call out in an intentional way? And I was completely blown away by my time during those couple of days on this retreat, more notably with our men's session that we had, where we broke into just a group of guys, and just being able to sit and hear and listen to how vulnerable all these men were, it just really inspired me so much. And I remember sitting there in just this group, sitting around this like little campfire, and just being blown away. And I'm like, wow, you're trusting me, this guy that you've never met before, with like the entirety of your heart. You're pouring out everything to me. You know, just all the downs and the peaks and valleys, the moments of deep depression, anxiety, sin, and they didn't care. They shared it with me. And that was one of the many ways that the Lord loved me during that retreat. And it really told me that I had to trust the Lord with more areas of my heart. The deep areas that I had closed off to Him, the areas that I had just kept away, off to the side, that I didn't want to deal with. Later in that men's session, I remember Matt had all the guys stand up who were involved in Fight Club. And just all these really cool dudes who were upperclassmen at the time stood up. And I remember sat down thinking to myself, oh, maybe I should lie. And maybe I should stand up and pretend that I've been involved in Fight Club for like such a long time. And I felt like such a loser, such a dork. I was just sat down and I thought to myself, okay, maybe this is something that I need to get involved in. Maybe this is the next step in which the Lord is calling out to me, where He's calling will. I remember during that time, during adoration that night, sitting in front of Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament and being absolutely just awestruck at that deep, profound love that He gave me. Just this huge wave of peace came over me, and I could hear the Lord's voice in that moment. And He was saying, Will, you need this. Will, you need this. Will, you need this. And I'm a very emotional person, and I completely just burst out into tears. And I remember leaving that retreat that night, coming back home to Maryland in my humble abode. And I remember being so amped and so pumped. It felt like this was an escape plan from sin. It was a route to freedom. And it was a route in which the Lord was calling me to enter into. I remember thinking to myself, like, okay, next time that I see Matt, I'm going to talk to him and I'm going to get involved ASAP. And then I remember later that night thinking, why wait? Let's just text him immediately. And through that, I was involved in a small group in Maryland. And through that small group, I was able to see the many ways in which the Lord, bit by bit, was helping me grow in freedom. To love not just my future spouse, but whoever Jesus places right in front of me. I remember a few years later being asked to be a leader with Fight Club. And those same fears kind of came in. Those fears that I had before of like, okay, do I actually do this? Do I actually involve myself with a group like Fight Club? Or do I just kind of step back and say like, okay, no, we're good. I remember praying in the chapel at Maryland, and I remember sitting with our Lord in adoration, of course, and he was calling my name again. But this time he wasn't saying, will you need this? Will you need this? But he was saying, will they need this? They need this. And I was completely awestruck in that moment. And it was an invitation that I couldn't turn down. I was so afraid, just so paralyzed with fear. I remember talking to Sean Fahey, some of you guys may know. What if I don't know how to walk with a certain person, or they have a problem that I don't know how to solve? What if there's a type of leadership that they're used to that I just can't give them? But the Lord and our Blessed Mother took care of all of it, and they continue to take care of all of it. And that yes that I gave to becoming a leader with Fight Club led to a deeper yes to joining Mission with Focus, and then starting a Fight Club at Seton Hall. And I kind of want to just angle this back to the men in the room, specifically the guys who've experienced freedom and the joys of freedom. And I just want to say that you guys have an obligation and a duty to share that freedom, that joy that you guys have experienced. I think it's so fitting that we're in the season of Advent. Last week we lit the candle of hope. This week it's the candle of love. And I think those two virtues of love and hope, they really speak to the necessity of what we're dealing with here. Because there's so many men outside of this chapel, and sometimes, and even in this chapel, who they're drowning. Men whose heads are just barely above the water, who don't know the joys of freedom. And we have a duty as men to share that freedom with others so that they can experience that hope and that love. A Bible passage that's been sitting with me a lot recently has been Matthew 25, verses 14 through 30. And this passage is the story of the talents, the king who has 3 servants, one with 5 talents, one with 2, and one with 1. He sends out the first servant and tells him to multiply. The servant comes back and he brings back 10 talents. And the king says to the servant, well done, my good and faithful servant. The second servant comes back and he multiplies as well. He brings back 4 talents to the king. And the king says the same thing, well done, my good and faithful servant. But what does this third servant do? He takes the talent that's given to him and he buries it into the dirt. And when it's time to give back to the king, all he gives him is the 1 talent that he hid because he was so paralyzed with fear. And so for the men here, I just ask, if you're afraid to share this joy of freedom, it's okay, because I've been there. I've been the guy who his head was barely above the water, the guy whose face was flat in the dirt and had to really look and find and search for people to help me. And for you guys, that was you at one point too. And so I just ask, when you exit today, this amazing celebration that we have, really sit and wrestle with our Lord. How can I give back to him? Because we were all purchased at a price. Lord, how can we give back to you? Thank you.